So we are going strong now into our 6th year. So we're super excited for all of the work that the team have done to get us to this point. I as well have held vice president position at the chapter and was able to, through the guidance of Vanya Aline, who was the former president, been able to take on this role. I call this my side hustle. And so separate from my side hustle, I work for Cox Communications and I'm a director of customer care. And in my role, I help to create the resources that our leadership team uses to coach our employees to the customer experience, as well as help to host calibration sessions as we're listening into what the customers are saying about us, our products, our services, and how our employees are treating them. So super excited to be here. And on behalf of all of the breast cancer survivors, I am a 4-year breast cancer survivor. Woohoo! And anyone on the call that has been affected by breast cancer, I send you my utmost prayers, and any of our survivors, continued years of survivorship. Alex, handing it over to you.
I love it. So bringing up the rear, I am Alexandria Latimer. I am the president of NAMIC Capital Area. My chapter services the DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia region. For NAMIC, this is my 2nd term as president. Before that, I served on the board as the treasurer, and prior to that, a volunteer. NAMIC is my day job, my night job. My NAMIC takes up all of my time. I don't know when I find the time to do anything else, but what I'm supposed to be doing during the day is I am the director of audience insights for a company called Tegna. So it is my job to find the answers, figure out what our consumers want, figure out what news consumers are looking for, figure out how can we adjust our products through consumer insights, surveys, and focus groups to be more beneficial and useful for consumers. I've been in research and insights well over 10 years. It is what I love to do. I am nosy, so I love anything that allows me to ask the questions and find answers and solve problems. That is my thing. So in the vein of asking questions, I'm just going to jump right into this and toss it over to my fellow sisters in leadership on the call. Let's talk passions, purpose, and priorities. So, whoever wants to jump in first, just how do we define passion, purpose, and priorities? We always talk about balancing your passion and your purpose, but we threw priorities in there because we recognize that they all can be different. So whoever wants to jump in first, let's get right to it.
Yeah.
Now I know we're not shy. So
no, I thought we had an order going on, but
well, I will toss it to you, Rahdiah.
So, passion and purpose, I have to say that, I have aspired to be able to follow my passion. I was in sales for 20 years. I worked in telecommunications. I did very well in telecom, but I can't say that I loved it. And I can't say that I was passionate about it. And I did not feel purposeful at work. I did that job for over 20 years. I raised my son, made a great salary, was able to send him to, private school and camp and do all that great stuff. But then it came a time where I said, you know what, I really want to live out my passion because I want to know what God's purpose is for me. And I think God uses us as a vessel. And I really do think that it is in the diversity space, but more specific in the community impact. The role that I have now, it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it because I have a purpose. I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I am making a difference, and that has caused me to be very passionate in the work that I do. In my life overall, I feel like I'm much happier. I feel great. I don't have that dread getting up in the morning to go to work or the Sunday scaries anymore. And I think it's reflected in my work. I think I put out great work, if I do say so myself. And it has really led me to an area of happiness in my career that I didn't really think was possible. But I think that passion and that purpose all kind of intertwine with each other.
I think we've
Yeah.
all been there where, and talking to you all and also those in the chat, I think we've all at some point in our life have, liked what we've done, but not been in love with it. So Lakysha, I'll talk to you. Passion, purpose, and priorities. What are the differences?
Yeah.
How they manifest for you?
Yeah, so I had to, I'm a self-reflection person. So I go inward first before I just throw anything out there. And so I had to do a lot of work to understand what my purpose was, to Rahdiah's point, right? Because that will drive the passion, as she mentioned. And so when I thought back to who I am, my purpose is centered around that. My purpose for me is centered around being a voice for the voiceless. And so what I get involved in allows me to do those things that I'm passionate about. So for example, I'm passionate about breast cancer. So what do? I lend my time, and I'm passionate about my time with the American Cancer Society, right? Get my purpose, passionate about it. With elevating voices, with being there as a ear for other women. How do I do that? I do that through mentoring. So I use my purpose of wanting to make sure that women have a place to go and feel safe. I do that through mentoring. I do that through Road to Recovery with the breast cancer organization, where I lend my ear to women who might be going through the same thing that I went through. So for me, it was about self-reflection and prioritizing. So I'm not doing all things, I'm doing things that's centered around my purpose.
Lynnette?
I think for me, when I followed my passion, I found my purpose, and it was defined for me. I was like, why am I doing this? But I really love people. I really love making everybody's life better. When I intersect with somebody, my whole goal is to make that experience a memorable and just something that you want to have again. So a lot of people are like, hey, we're going to hang out again, right? So like you said, Rahdiah, as I moved I've been in NAMIC, and I think I won the trophy. I've been in NAMIC 18 years. I've been the president, I think 3 or 4 terms, vice president, every role but treasurer, that part, over those 18 years. And with that, I can say that this organization has helped me to become the person that I am in leadership. They've given me the confidence and the assurance that I have when I speak in front of people. I can speak in front of 1,000 people and not blink, because at NAMIC, you do it all, and you do it a long time, you do it well. So as I continue in NAMIC, and I realized that there is a need for this voice, as you said, law in this area, in communications, as I see senior leadership and going up and down, I raise my hand and say, hey, wait a minute, what about this and that? So I feel like my purpose is to be that advocate for diversity and inclusion, or ask a question. And so as I'm passionate about it, my purpose and my legacy has birthed out of that.
Can we stop and just go ahead and give her flowers? Lynnette was recently recognized by the WIC Southeast chapter as the fearless leader in allyship. So everything she just said is absolutely true. So congratulations again.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Thank you all. I mean, it's just what I do.
So, I'm listening to you all, and we talk on a regular. This is what we do. These are the kind of conversations we have. But I think about when I really differentiated the difference between the 3 of them. I was like, oh, my passion is this, just because, maybe I didn't have the Sunday scaries at a job, but it didn't mean I loved what I did, right? So honestly, for me, it was the pandemic really was very enlightening for me. And I don't know if any of you share that as well. It was a very hard time for a lot of people, including myself, but it also was a time that, that I was forced to slow down and really figure out, okay, well, the reality is when it comes to priorities, I need to eat, right? Like I need to feed my actual stomach, right? So my priorities pay the bills. I need my Wi-Fi on so I can binge watch all the things. I need to be able to go out to eat because I'm a foodie. So I need to be able to go out to eat, and I love brunch. So I need money, right? So were my priorities of my day-to-day, my 9 to 5, was that feeding my soul, right? And that's a difference. That's a different kind of hunger. That's a different kind of being fed. And I realized that it may not be, and it's not always, oh, this doesn't feed me, feed my soul. So I need a whole nother job. I had to really figure out how to balance that, right? I have to figure out, how do I make time for the things that I enjoy? I'm a creative at heart. I love anything that I can do with my hands. So I'm like, okay, how can I carve out that kind of time? But then sometimes it feels like you're cheating on yourself, right? Where it's like, okay, the reality is you go into somebody else's company every day and support their vision. And it's just like, what about mine? It's like, well, mine don't exactly allow me to go on trips and things, right? So how do I, let's talk about, you know, how much time do we spend on these things, right? How much, when it comes to your priorities, your 9 to 5 or your 7 to 3 or whatever hours you work, does it feel like cheating? You know, do you feel like, is it like it's cheating yourself when you work on your passions or work on the things that, you know, feed your soul? Like, how does that work? Like, what's the adequate amount of time we should spend on our passions, our purpose, as it relates to also our priorities, which is our 9 to 5?
No.
Okay.
Not like cheating. No. And I think that might come a little bit with age. You know, we're not millennials here. We're not what's the new generation Z. You know, we are.
Hey, Rob,
Mhm.
we're hearing some feedback from you.
There's some feedback from me. Let me see. Can you hear me clearly now?
It's still echoing. There's no one off mute, right?
No, I don't hear anybody else.
No, we can hear you echoing. You're echoing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why. Well, somebody else take that question while I get my audio together.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
so go ahead.
Go ahead, Lynnette.
No, you go.
So I wouldn't say that there's a time that there is, you know, that you should try to pigeonhole yourself into saying, well, I have to do it this time, I have to do it that time. For me, the prioritization came in, one, from some really great leaders and mentors that I've had that have said to me, Lakysha, take a step back and make sure that what your purpose is, that you're aligned to it, and then find ways to integrate it into, you know, your schedule. So that might mean, what that might look like is my first meeting of the day for work might not be until 9 o'clock. So what I might do is say, okay, so from 8:30 to 9, I'm going to go ahead and send out this email that I need to the team for NAMIC Virginia. I might have a lunch from 12 to 1. I'll have lunch from 12 to 12:30, and from 12:30 to 1, I might say, okay, let me reach out to, you know, this thing that I'm working on, right? So I prioritize based on where I have pockets of open time, but I also hold sacred the time after I'm done for the day. And I say to myself, I have to stop at some point, right? And pick it back up the next day, because there will be times where you will have a lot on your plate and you're not going to be able to do it all. So for me, I don't try to compartmentalize it into, I have to get it done here, here, or here. I look at what I'm working on, look at my schedule, and I fit it in where I can integrate it.
And I also think that it's about the timing. It's like in different seasons of your life, you have more time than less time, right?
Right.
So like at business, at work, I work at the Weather Channel. During hurricane season, they wanted me to actually do work. I'm like, what? Okay. So during that time, I can't really focus on what I need to focus on because I'm working longer hours or whatever. But then the summertime when we have like, it's just hot or rainy or whatever. So I kind of base it on that time, kind of timeline. It's like, okay, now I have this window of opportunity. Let me work on whatever, you know, if I'm working, let's say my passion is to write a book. Let me work on a couple of chapters of my book at this time because I know I have this space to do it in. So I don't beat myself up from not doing it every night at 9 o'clock. And I think that's when we get in trouble. It's like, we're going to work on this every night until we get it. And then you're miserable, right? So you just do it within, you have those pockets of opportunity throughout that season. And then you look back and you've already actually come a long way.
Yeah.
So, Rahdiah, can you talk now?
Do I sound a little better?
No.
That is.
And it just happened too, because you were fine for a little
And you
while.
put it on mute and then it went, it's your fault. Okay, continue, Alex.
I think Try changing,
Oh.
try changing the mic and then changing it back and see if that helps in the bottom.
And if anybody want to put how to help us in the chat, we'll take that too.
So, I love what you guys say about, especially you, Lynnette, just now, about not beating yourself up, about not finding the time. That's something I struggled with, honestly, where it was like, oh, I need to be doing this. And I'm a textbook type A. I need to plan out my day from 8 o'clock, and this is what I'm doing at 9. And when I jump off the schedule, I lose it. Okay. When I am not on, I had 50 things to do today and I'm jumping like, okay, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to do this. And at 10 o'clock, I'm going to do that. And when it doesn't happen, it throws off the whole rest of my day. Now I have 11 things to do. So, and I know there's somebody else in here who has their sticky notes or their to-do list thrown off. It is, and that can be very paralyzing for someone who is trying to find that balance of, okay, this is my passion, this is my purpose, I'm going to do this for this amount of times a day. And I found myself getting stuck right in that place where it's just like, now I'm paralyzed, not just for today, I'm paralyzed for tomorrow too, because yesterday wasn't how I planned. And I'm also paralyzed on Saturday. Like I can't even use my Saturday because I'm just so distraught. I messed up my Wednesday, right? So it happens. And so, yes, I'm seeing a lot of my sticky notes, fellow members here. We love it. I can't live without my sticky notes. But have you guys ever felt, we all do things at work and are involved in things professionally. We do things outside of work, name it. We also do things personally, things that we're passionate about. Have you ever felt stuck in any one of those areas that you care to share? Stuck in a way where you felt like you couldn't move and you had to find a way out of it?
For me, I was stuck in the priority space because at one point, and my former leader, Bruce, is on the call. So Bruce, you know what I'm talking about. There was a point where I felt like I had to do all of it, right? And what I described earlier had been something that I had implemented in order to get out of that stuckness of feeling like, oh my God, there's not enough. How many of us have said it's not enough hours in the day, right? When you say that, that's not a good thing, because what that means is you have so much going on that you feel like you need to remain awake for so many hours. So some of us might even be doing 16 to 20 hours when we're stuck in this, what do I prioritize? So I would absolutely recommend that if at work, you talk to your leader, right? Because there are some things that you're being given that you're probably not sure. I know for me, I wasn't sure where to place it in the priority list. So I felt like I had to find a way to get it all done. And all I had to do was speak to my leader and say, help me prioritize. From anything else you might have going on outside of work, get you a support circle like this one, where you can ask the question of your friends of how they may have handled it or how they have done it, so that you can pick up tips from them. So that's how I've remained able to stay out of the stuckness. Now, don't get me wrong, I get there sometimes, right? But at least now I have a tool on how to stop myself and prioritize where needed.
And I see, do I sound a little better?
Yes.
Oh,
Yay.
good.
You sound great, girl.
Janine raised her hand. Janine, I don't know if you wanted to say something.
I was agreeing with everything that's being said. It's fabulous.
Thank you, Janine.
Thank you.
I could say for me, there's been periods and times in my life where I have felt stuck by circumstances. You feel like you need to stay in a certain job, or you need to stay in a certain relationship, or you need to stay doing things a certain specific way. And what I have learned over the years is you are never stuck. I am never stuck. You can always change your circumstances. You can always do what's best for you. I think as women, sometimes we don't prioritize ourselves enough. We put everybody before ourselves. Even at work, we're like, well, let's do this and so everybody else can feel comfortable, or let's do this so we don't rock the boat, or let's do this, so things remain smooth. And that's something that I have learned with age. And that's what I was going to say earlier is that I think a lot of this comes a little bit easier and it feels a little bit more comfortable because we are a little bit older. We're not millennials. We are Generation X. That's the next one above the millennials. And we've kind of lived and experienced, and we're able to feel a little bit more comfortable in our skin, be a little bit more assertive. I know that I feel a lot more comfortable at work, where I'm able to set those boundaries, say no to certain things, and not feel so guilty and bad about it. So,
and I think that,
yeah,
I think that I'm not a, whatever that generation said, I'm above that. And I think that we put, as women in leadership, women in certain roles, we put the big E on our shirts. Every woman. We're not every woman. We cannot. I know there's a song, I love it to death, but we try to be everyone. We're every woman to our work, our families, our organizations, everything. And then we are beat down and tired. And so, and then we're struggling to prioritize because everything is a priority, right? So if we can get out of the every woman syndrome and prioritize what's really important at that time. Some things bubble up and they bubble back again. It's a cycle. And once you determine what that is, you can keep it moving and not get stuck. I know my thing, keep it moving. I don't like to, if I stand still, I'm probably going to go to sleep. So I'm always moving. I'm always moving mentally and physically to keep it moving, to keep everything going. Because once you sit down and say, I'm tired, you're going to be tired. And setting those boundaries, like you said, to me, I set, I'm in a lot of organizations. I'm on a lot, not a lot, but I'm in a few boards, and I level set on each of those organizations. I say, I'm only going to do X in this organization. I level set at the beginning. I'm not going to be on a committee, or I'm going to be on a committee. And that way everyone understands where I'm coming from. They know I'm going to do this one thing well, and I'm out. Or I'm just going to be a dues paying member. But I don't let the pressures of that organization, oh, you got to do this, you got to do, because I can't do it all. There's not enough time in the day, like you said. So setting those boundaries and setting those expectations as you join those organizations and your family and everything. And I think you'll have a better mindset.
So we're about to shift into a conversation about generations. I am the resident millennial here, but I've been here 2 times before, and I've been 72 for the last 25 years. So I'm probably the oldest person at heart on the panel. But Ra, I'm going to transition to you to lead that conversation about ageism in the workplace. And I've been seeing in the chat, we have people I've seen some millennials check in. I saw some boomers check in. And this is something that affects us all at every stage in our career. Let's transition to age in the workplace.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, I am a Generation Xer. I am in my 40s. I've had 2 careers. I'm kind of settling into a new type of career path. And I've been talking to a few of my coworkers, and we're wondering if, the 40s and over, the millennials and over, if they're feeling a little bit left out of the discussion. So, the new generation, y'all got it down pat. Like, y'all know technology, y'all, the social media, everything. They're so well-rounded, so smart, so intelligent. And not to say that we're not, because we're a little bit older, but we were not born with all that. We weren't born into all that. I remember getting a microwave for the first time. Like, I didn't grow up with a microwave. Like, that was like a new gadget to have. So, these kids were born with, every bit of technology that there is. So, ageism in the workplace is a real thing. And we're wondering, and I've been wondering, if we're starting to feel a little bit left out of the conversation. Are we getting passed up? Are we being ignored? Are we being pacified and put in the corner? So I would like to know your thoughts. I'll start with Lakysha because she's on my side right here. What you think about that?
So for me, I only feel left out if I don't have the knowledge or I don't understand. So the way I combat that is I educate myself. right? So we all have family members that are of many of the generational identities, right? And so if I hear something, then I will find someone within my network or my circle or my family to go ask, hey, help me understand what this might mean. Because what it means to me is, and then I'll share from my perspective as a Gen X, what I'm seeing, around this. And so I don't feel left out personally, because I go and I do my own research. So when I am in conversations with someone from another generation, then at least I can have a basic level conversation. And then if we get into a little bit more, then they could educate me. So I kind of see it as a reverse education once I'm in the moment. I remember, and I don't know if any of you have seen the meme where they were sharing back in our day, Rob, right? We had the pagers. Did y'all see that meme lately? Right? And so there's a video on TikTok where the guy is like, well, why would you want this? Like, what is this button even for? But that was the thing back to us. And then, the millennials have these other, like Twitch. I didn't even know what Twitch was at first, right? And so I had to go to my millennial and say, what's Twitch and why do you use it? Oh, okay. This is like X, right? So again, for me, it's about knowledge. It's about educating myself so that I don't feel left out when I'm having conversations. So I don't say that I could ever say I felt left out. I may have been confused, but I didn't feel left out.
And being a certain age comes with new circumstances and a unique set of circumstances. I know that now my mom has started to stay with me. I'm an empty nester. Our workplace is really taking into consideration this kind of new generation that they have to deal with these special circumstances. Lynnette, do you think that jobs need to do a little bit more to make employees of a certain age feel more comfortable and accommodate them?
Well, absolutely. I think that, and I love this question because I am a baby boomer and, I grew up with pagers and no microwave. And so I think that it's a difficult task because of COVID. You have half the team at home, half the team so it's all about being inclusive. So if I have a team and everyone is of a different generation, how do we make everyone feel included in that group? How do we bridge that gap between people? Like, I'm not going to be on my phone 24/7 and you are. So I think that it's up to those leaders in the company to kind of really understand what that looks like, because we have different work styles or different work ethics. My work ethic is, like you said, when I go home, my cousin, when she goes home, she puts the phone on the charger. She said, if anybody's dead, they'll be dead the next morning. That's her thing. So she never talks on the phone after that. We have people that live with their phones. So just understanding the different generational things helps us in the workplace. And I think that companies, I don't know if they're really addressing it. I know that at one point, I felt like kindy care at work. The 8th floor turned into a big playground. We had the foosball, but then I don't care anything about that. I don't really care about that. But that was for the generation that wanted to have foosball and the paintball and everything they did up here. So it's like, I think we need to do a better job so that we all can feel included. And as a team, if you want to work as a team, if you work as an independent contributor, that's fine. But if we're a team, then we need to figure out what the generation X do and Z and Y generations are, and really try to figure out how that comes together. And because I think if you do it correctly, you're going to have a great experience, because you can pull from the experience of the older people and the younger generation. You pull that together, it's amazing.
And the individual contributors as well, Lynn, right? Because they partner with the teams.
Yeah, true.
So it's all one,
True.
One strategy.
I think understanding the generations are critical. As you were saying, Lynnette, for a myriad of reasons. I know we were talking about Gen X and above. Millennials range from 26 to 41. So, I don't know that I exactly have a whole lot in common with a 26-year-old. But, that's how generations work. It's a large age span, but I even feel some of it being on the higher end of that millennial group, as it relates to maybe not being understood, by a company. In my age bracket, yes, we have some people who have, are married and have kids, and we have, a lot of us who are not, who have neither, right? And then finding that balance is just like, okay, well, is this work environment set up for me as someone who's, you know, maybe considering a family a couple years down the line, you know, just because I don't have those things now, whereas Gen X, maybe their kids are already, like you said, Ra, empty nesters, their kids are at the house. Well, you know, some of us are trying to get kids in the house, right? Like we can't even get to that point yet because you got me working, you know, on the weekends and think that just because I have my phone, I'm available 24/7, right? You can email me at 8 o'clock just because, you know, you think it's attached to my hip because you think that that's what comes with my generation, like the accessibility, you know, and oftentimes, sometimes it's felt like, oh, you should be grateful, you know, to have this job. And I was like, yeah, you know, I kind of want to live a little too, right? So I think that understanding and humanizing your employees is important, regardless of the generations, but that understanding of where they are, what they need developmentally, what they need personally, what they need emotionally. I think that's critical, and that comes from speaking to your employees and allowing them to speak to each other, right? Don't play them against each other. Don't, just because someone may be, you know, of a younger generation, a millennial or younger, it's just like, oh, we're going to send you to this social media training. No, send everybody to the social media training. Don't just automatically assume that someone can't handle or wouldn't want to learn the digital side of things just because they didn't have a microwave. And for the record, I had a beeper. Okay, I walked around with a roll of quarters.
You have no beeper on your hip.
Harlem, New York. I had my roll of quarters. And just like everybody else, all the way up until the start of high school. I didn't actually get the phone until after September 11th, and that was because it was a necessity at that point. So
hit me on the hip, hit me on the hip.
Alex, can I just add something? So also, we may put that pressure on ourselves, right? So I don't have children, right? I'm married. I don't have children. Shout out to my husband, Cliff. But I have stepchildren through him, right? But at work, I always felt like, well, I know so-and-so has to get home to the children, so let me take on the work that I know she or he can't do right now. And so what that was doing for me was forcing more work on myself. So a lot of it sometimes could also be you putting the pressure on yourself to not stop, prioritize, take the time. And I then had to learn that, you know what, we're all here and we were hired to do the work that we were hired to do. And I can't put pressure on myself. I can be a good team member and say, hey, Alex, do you need help with that? But then if I take it on, incorporate it into how I prioritize my work so that I'm not spending 15 more hours trying to do and help someone else. So I just wanted to point that out because for me, I was putting the pressure on myself to stay because I was trying to be a good colleague and coworker to my friends and my coworkers, and it was putting more pressure on me.
I also think creating a safe space, just like, you know, with the employee resource groups where you have your women ERGs, your Black ERGs, Hispanic, etc. We should create a space for people of a certain age where they feel comfortable, supported. They could, you know, bring certain policies and awareness to things that might not be working for them specifically to a company. So that's something that I'm actually exploring at my company as well. But I wanted to know, anybody can answer this. What do you think we should learn from the generations under us? What's something that you admire and would like to pull from that generation?
How to use the TikTok. When I was growing up, our cell phones came with a manual, the book about this thick. Okay, the time it takes, nothing comes with a manual. No, I'm kidding, but no, I don't. I need instructions. I have to go, and I put the in front of everything, right? So that shows I'm 72. So I go to the YouTube for everything because I don't know how to use it. But I think that I love how the younger generation just adapts so quickly to things and are able to, and I love the freshness of the idea, the untainted viewpoints of a lot of new employees just coming out of college. I think it's so refreshing, you know, to see their passion, their ideas, their innovation. I would love to to think like that again, right? I think a lot of times as you get further in your career, you lose a little bit of that wonder or magic, if you will, in the workplace. And I just love listening to the younger generation, because it's just like, sometimes it sparks something. You're like, you know what, I did get away from that, but let me revisit that. So I would say the innovation of the younger generation.
Monica put in the chat that they're more concerned about the environment than our generation, and I would absolutely agree with that. In addition, I would add, I love the passion around social activism and getting out there in the trenches and not being unafraid, right? They go out for what they believe, and you see them right there on the lines fighting for what they believe is a part of their values. So that would be one thing I would share.
And for me, it's just the energy. I love the energy I can get from it. I get energized. I talk to my mentees. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Let's do it. So I love the energy that they bring, because like you said, they have no filter. It's like, hey, let's just do it. And they just have so much excitement about doing it that I get excited.
And I love and admire how they are so self-assured. Listen, if it's not going to benefit them, they will say no and keep it moving. There's no questions asked. They're really like vested in what they want to do, what the outcome is going to be, and they're not misled easily. They really are like on it, and I really admire that. I said, wow, like these young kids really are about it. Like they're turning down jobs that don't fulfill them. They're not in relationship. Like it's just like we're on it. We're doing this. So yeah, that's what I love.
They recognize when the time is up. And I think a lot of us are, holding on to things for a really long time, and they're just like, I'm out. And it's just like, you just got here. And they're like, and I'm gone. And it's just like, okay. I kind of envy that too, though, where they're just like, I'll figure it out. And it's just like, you're not worried about your medical benefits? And they're just like, I'll figure it out. It's just like, oh, I can't be without insurance. Like, I'm not doing a good job and I don't have any insurance. Like, but the fact that they do figure it out, and a lot of them end up better off when they move on to something. I love that for them.
And Sonia brings up a good point. Our generations allowed them to do that, right? Because I can imagine that we wanted to create a space and a life for them that was different than ours.
Yeah.
And so you're spot on, Sonia, there, that it is our generations that have helped them to be that way.
Vincent said, yes, we raised them. That's right. That's it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Somebody said they know their worth, and they do. And like you said, if they don't feel valued, they're like, deuces, I'm out.
Deuces. Yep.
Yes. And that's boundary setting, right? They're really good at boundary setting. I know we lightly touched on that, but does anybody want to speak to the art of saying no? Just no.
So I was told,
because it is a complete sentence.
I was just about to say that someone told me a long time ago that no was a complete sentence. And the first time I said it and didn't follow it up with anything else, it was like people were looking like, and what's next? And I, a little case study, I just tried it. And it just felt so good. It was just like, you mean not to justify the no to something else? It's hard to do, right? Because then somebody will follow up and be like, but why? And it's just like, no, like, do I repeat it again?
It's not hard for me anymore. It's not hard for me anymore. At one time it was. I think I was like a borderline people pleaser, or I just wanted things to always be so smooth without causing any turmoil. But I love saying no now. Like, no.
I feel like saying no, the reason why it's not to justify my no, right? For me, it's so you won't ask me again, right? I need you to understand why I said no, to be very clear about those boundaries, right? Like no, because, so I get that it's a full sentence, but I feel like sometimes you'll just come back on Tuesday and be like, so about that, like I just said no. Like I feel like sometimes I need to explain. And that's what I'm trying to get out of the explaining, because it is. But sometimes I'm like, no, I need you to understand why this is a hard pass for me, and don't let it happen again. So that's where I am.
I don't explain it, and if they come back, I use the H word, and then I say H no, and then maybe they get it that way. I'm just, hey.
Is it harder for you to say no at work?
It is. It was for me. And like Clarissa said, saying no is sometimes saying yes to you. I love that. Because that was the realization, right, that I had to have with myself, because you feel obligated, right? Sometimes you feel obligated to your job because you love what you do and you want to be a good team player. And like you said, Rob, being a people pleaser, right? So, you know, I found that when I say no now, I'm able to change the conversation to who possibly can do it, right? So have you considered this person? Because sometimes you're being asked to do something that has nothing to do with you, that has nothing to do with the work that you do, right? But there is a whole nother team that's supposed to be doing it. So it's just being able to identify it and then saying, hey, have you thought about so-and-so for this? And that's how I do some of my no's.
Yeah, and it's not meant to be mean or malicious or you trying to skirt from responsibility, but it's you know why you're saying no. It's just not something that you want to do or partake in or participate in. So I think the person, you know, a lot of times it's the respect on the other end. And I had a real issue with saying no at work at one time, but you'll be dragged down to the ground. You'll be used and abused. You'll be, you'll be
And I think
burnt
that's the thing.
out.
It goes back to what you said. And when I was single, there's oh, Lynnette can say she's not married. I'm thinking, well, I still want to go home. I want to leave here. They used to say the person that was single. I didn't have anything else to do, but hey, work all night because we're 24/7. So I think you do have to say again the boundary setting and that level setting. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. Thanks, and keep it moving, because if not, you're all the person left holding the bag. And this is when we had tapes. Who's waiting for the tapes? Oh, Lynnette can do it. I'm like, what? So you get past that. You get past it, and you learn.
What are some of those boundaries that you've had to set, like in the workplace? I know for me, I had to stop working late. I had to make sure that in many instances, I created that. No one told me to stay late, but once I did it way too many times, it was expected, right? It was just like, oh, you're leaving early? It's 6 o'clock. That's not early. Like that's just because you see me with my dinner here sometimes. For me, I don't have a home. I live someplace else. What are some of the boundaries at work that you had to set, whether it was time or workload or what have you?
For me, it was time. I was working at a job before Cox, and I had, and don't kill me, I had a 2-hour commute each way.
Ooh.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so I would most times, due to my own doing, get stuck in the office, and the last train was leaving out at a certain time. And the amount of stress it put on me to finish this last minute thing, probably not producing the quality of work that I probably could have if I had said no or, found a way to figure it out. But the amount of stress I put on myself, I had to say, I have a 2-hour commute, and the job knew that when I started, right? So I'm going to need to be leaving at this time. So anything that comes in after this time, please know I will look at it the next day. And so that was the boundary I had to set for myself. Another boundary, 12 o'clock is my lunch. So I'm sorry if anybody's on the phone from Cox, but if I put that I'm out of the office from 12 to 1 and you throw a meeting on there, I'm sorry, I'm going to decline it because I need to eat. I need to go out for my walk, for my health. So those boundaries are important. And I put it in the chat. If you set a boundary and then you go against it, what are you saying to the person? That you don't even respect the boundary that you put out there.
Right.
Those boundaries are so important. I mean, especially at work. They will walk all over you. They will pile it on. They will demand your time. They will think that you belong to them. It's so important to set the boundaries. And I think it's important to set them early. It really, really is. Because like you said, if they see you not respecting your own boundaries, it's on. Mm-hmm. It's on and popping.
That's it.
Another one of mine is what I'm doing for PTO. Like I'm off. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be doing marathons around the lobby. I'm off. Like it doesn't, it's not, you're not entitled to know that. I'm entitled to PTO. So one, taking my time was a boundary because I was leaving PTO on the table left and right. And then the other one is feeling the need to, vacation. I'm just off.
Right.
I'm off. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
That's
Period.
your personal life. And I, because I don't do that at work, like infringe myself on, unless we're very, very friendly, I'm not going to really dig into your personal life, and people want to ask what you did, what you're doing, where you're going, how you got there, what you got on. And I feel that's very, off-putting, and that's because we're at work, and we're not supposed to be talking about, how I partied last night or what I did. That's not work conversation. Now, if we're like friends and we're outside, having an after work drink or something, maybe that's different. But even then, I'm like, unless we're like cool, I don't think that we should be asking personal questions like that. So that is another boundary.
So you want to transition to since we've been talking about boundaries, self-care?
Oh, yeah.
So self-care for me changed. I think someone mentioned earlier, Alexandria, during the pandemic. I was not doing a good job of taking care of myself, meaning for me, self-care is taking those moments for myself to just breathe, taking those moments for myself to put in for that PTO so I can go and do something that I would have been meaning to do. And the pandemic kind of forced me into realizing and acknowledging, how are you feeling right now? What is it you should be doing? Hey, wait a minute. It's been almost 4 months. You haven't taken a day off yet. When are you taking that day? Or 2 or week, right? So can each of you share, what does self-care mean to you? And what are some of your self-care practices?
So I'll go. So self-care, again, during the pandemic, I stopped and started. So I started doing puzzles, and I told somebody that was like, oh, you mean on the computer? I'm like, no. 1,000-piece puzzles, like
Yes.
table. So that's my space. I go in, there's no technology. I may listen to some music and I just do a puzzle, and I love that. But I also started walking, and I walked every day. I'd leave, log off, good night, and I would walk at least 3 miles or 2 miles around my subdivision. And now, fast forward, I did 8 5Ks last year, walking only. And I'm
insane
again this year. And it's a mental and a physical thing. It's right. I get on there, I put my earbuds in, I'm jamming, I'm screaming, I'm hollering, I'm talking on the phone. And it's just a great release. And so, but physically, it's also a great thing. So I wasn't doing good at that. I was like, I always say 1 biscuit away from 200, but I'm not to get that in there. And it's like, yeah, I can't stop walking. So I walk, I do my puzzles. And as I do that, I clear my mind of the day or what's going on so I can restart.
And she walks
you be walking
all day long.
All day. I'm like, where
she texts us at 6 a.m. Oh, I just finished 8 miles, taking a break and then going hiking. It was like,
oh, so Clarissa,
Saturday.
Lynnette. She
Clarissa
said you
is
her
my
5K.
buddy. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Look,
like,
and then sometimes, right, Alex, when she puts it in the text, right, and we'd be like, man, we feel real lazy right now, right?
she did it last week, and I just walked 6 miles. I'm just like, man, that's my second mimosa. Like, I ain't even, dang, like, Lynnette will make you feel like you're not doing enough. I'll tell you that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, Rod, you want to share a self-care practice you have?
Something that I have really adapted, and this also happened over the pandemic, where I was forced to slow down. I'm always on 100 million, 1,000 things. I was forced to slow down, and I restarted going to therapy. I found an amazing Black therapist that I just love. It has helped me in so many ways. It has helped me get centered, feel more calm. And I think it was important to, it's so important to get your body right, but you have got to have your mind at peace, definitely at peace.
Right.
So I find therapy to be just so wonderful, and I recommend it to everyone. You don't have to be in crisis to start, It's just good to like, it's like maintenance. It's like really,
It
really
is.
good.
Good old
And
oil
we-
change.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Another thing
and-
that I do is I just love quiet time. I love my quiet time. I'll take it wherever I can. I don't let people make me feel guilty about it. It's just something that I need. I need to be alone sometimes, to be
Right.
quiet, to collect my thoughts, to sit with my thoughts. And I take that time, and it helps me, it rejuvenates me, it helps me to stay centered. So that's something that I give myself every day.
I love that journaling. These ladies know you piss me off, I'm gonna book a flight. So my self-care, I am
be
quick.
always somewhere.
I'm like, oh, really? This is what we're doing? Priceline. Like my version of self-care is getting out of Dodge fast. I will go near, I will go far, but I'm gonna book a flight somewhere.
Yeah, she's been on like 18 vacations.
Exactly.
Right.
Every
No,
time
I've
that
been
when
on-
she texts, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on my way to the airport." We're like, Lynnette's walking, Alex is on her way to the airport. Like,
they are not vacations, they are self-care retreats.
yes.
Okay, that's the topic. But I love that, Clarissa, you mentioned journaling. I love journaling. I didn't realize how therapeutic just writing out your thoughts were. I realized that sometimes when I write out how I initially perceive something, it's not that way when I'm done journaling. So I love journaling. I'm a bookie. I love to read. I love to just envelop myself in a character if it's fiction or just a story. So I love to read. And just binge watching something that I don't have to think about, something that's not too scary or suspenseful. I sometimes watch the same thing over and over. It's just about that me time, right? It's about allotting that time in my day where it's just like, this is what I'm gonna do for me. I don't care if you don't like it. That's a walk to Cold Stone and get me some ice cream. That's brunch, bottomless mimosas. I promise I'm not an alcoholic, guys. I'm just mimosa here and there. But it's really just whatever it is that makes me feel good that day. And to do it unapologetically. I'll turn off my phone if I need to, turn off whatever distractions, go dark on social media, just whatever I have to do to make it about me. So it's just about me. That's my self-care, because I spend a lot of time doing for others and being that E on the chest, Lynnette, that everyone for everybody and everything. So those self-care moments are the ones where it's just me.
Yep.
If that's curling my hair, listening to music, I love music. So if it's blasting music, doing something, that's self-care. It doesn't always have to be something expensive. It doesn't have to be something that's out of the house, right? It's just that me time.
Yeah. For me, it's walking. I love to walk. So you'll find me walking during my lunch break. You'll find me walking when I get off of work. I'll drag my hubby every now and again, but even if I drag him, like, I don't want to talk. I just want to walk. Right. And so I take in the air, I take in my surroundings. The other thing I do is I love sunflowers. And so every year I find out when the sunflower patch is going to open, and I go and I go and pick my sunflowers and I bring them home, and they die within a couple of days. But I still enjoy being able to go and do it, because that's time where I can just be. And, again, self-care is so important, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't be strategic, right, in your job if you have nothing to give, because you haven't rested. You haven't given yourself rest. You haven't given yourself a pause to center yourself back to who you are. So it's so important that if you aren't practicing self-care, that you find ways to do so, because you will find that, at least for me, I find that I'm a more thoughtful leader when I have had self-care moments. I find that I'm a better friend, I'm a better wife, I'm a better, stepmother, when I have time to myself, to center myself. So definitely encourage you all. There's some great self-care practices in the chat. So if you haven't taken a look at it, I think I'm gonna look into the cooking one, because that one looks interesting. But self-care is so important. So I know we are at 5:34.
I think we had one. Janine could raise her hand.
Okay.
Are you able to take yourself off mute? I might have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what makes a good leader, right? Recognizing when you are at your wit's end, or hopefully recognizing before you get to that point when I need to take a pause, I need to stop, I need to think, I need to refill my cup before I can pour into others. So I think those are all, self-care is a must. We talk about
Yes.
being resilient, being this, being that makes up a good leader. Recognizing that self-care is a part, recognizing and making self-care a part of your routine is definitely a trait of a good leader as well.
Yes. Janine, you're up.
You're still muted.
I was going to make the comment about the walking.
Oh, you went out a little bit.
I just reiterate that wholeheartedly, especially this time of year. It's just so soothing and relaxing just to get out, away from your desk, away from the computer, away from all the gadgets.
Yep.
And breathe.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you.
So true. I need to shout. I see my real boo-boos on here. Carvel is here. Hi, Carvel.
Hey, Carvel.
Hey. Carvel
Former
is the
Vice
immediate
President.
past Vice President of NAMIC, New York. I miss you, Carvel. Come
And this discussion was for you too, because men don't often take care of themselves.
Oh, no.
As they
Listen,
should. So fine.
Carvel knows about some self-care now.
Yeah.
Carvel don't play that.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for joining the session. I hope you're well, Greg. Reach out.
Yes.
So
All right, we are going to open it up for some Q&A. So if you all have any questions to ask us or want to share your thoughts on today's session, let us know. And we will get you on the screen.
And we appreciate you guys listening.
Yes.
Sometimes all it takes is a push from a friend, and we hope that we were that push today to push you to advocate for yourself, push you to have some self-care, push you to be, balance your priorities and such. So
Be kind to yourselves, give yourself grace, be patient with yourselves, and don't try to do it all. We can do it all. We already know. That's been established. We can do it all, but we don't have to do it all. We don't have to. It's okay to ask for help, delegate. Listen, we got to take care of ourselves.
Self-care.
And don't feel bad about self-care. I mean, they will just do it and be happy because you will be a better leader. The worst thing that can happen is someone tap you on the shoulder and say, you need some self-care. You need, so they told me one day, you need to go to lunch. And I said, okay. Because if you're there and you don't know you're there, you need to bring it down. So I do my lunch hour every day. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And being a leader, being a leader, we're not talking about just, if you have direct reports, you lead projects, you lead, so don't think like, oh, I'm gonna put these in my pocket until I get a promotion or get that. No, the reality is everyone's a leader.
Yeah.
Dottie asked if we have it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I do have one. I don't know if any of you have one. Dottie, for me, with time management, there's a cool little feature if you use Outlook for your work. There's a cool feature called focus time. And what you do with that is it can be a little scary because it tells you about yourself, right? It tells you where you need to be devoting maybe some more quiet time, right, Sharon? Yes. It will plug whatever allotment of time you say, whether it's a half hour or an hour, onto your calendar for focus time. And what you decide to do with that focus time is up to you. As an example, I will share with you that let's say I get a request for a new initiative and I have to deliver it by a certain date. I will use the focus time that gets placed on my calendar to think about the strategy for that specific initiative. If I have to go back the next day, and it does it for the entire week for you, where you have blocks of open time, but you should use that time to truly focus, right? So you might say, well, I'm a leader of people and I have to do payroll every day. Use that focus time to do the team's payroll. You might have to create a presentation that you're about to do next week. Use the focus time to help you focus on what that presentation looks like. It's been a game changer for me. So that's one of the things that I've used for time management.
I don't have any tips. I need help myself.
That's a whole nother session.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Alex, any tips on time management for you? Oh, my bad.
I mean, I can give you some, but I don't use them. So, yeah, time blocking.
All right, I didn't see
is
any other questions. Yes, Simone, it's in the newest version of Microsoft. Yes. All right, we want to close out.
Yes. This was a good conversation, ladies. Like, we could have kept it going. Like we always do.
Like we always do.
Yeah, we're like in one nonstop conversation. It's just like one ongoing sentence.
2 years now.
Yeah. Well, get you a tribe, because this is my tribe.
Yeah,
We are
someone
each other's
said that,
tribe.
you know, it's important to surround yourself with people who support you, who encourage you to take self-care, who encourage you to be kind to yourself. So I think that's very, very important, to surround yourself, get a good tribe, get a good board of directors. You know, I ask these ladies not only personal things, but career questions all the time. I'm getting help. I'm like, somebody help me with this spreadsheet. Somebody, how do I approach this? How do I talk to this person? So get yourself a good group, and it will get you through your day. You don't even know how, you know, sometimes I'm feeling sad, frustrated, and here comes Lynnette with one of her things. And I'm like, listen, I needed that. She didn't even know I needed. I was like, I needed that. I needed one of your quirky gems that you just dropped. So definitely get yourself a good group and cultivate the friendships.
So will anyone be at the NAMIC conference during? Yes, we will.
We will see you at the NAMIC conference.
Yes, we will.
I'm excited about it.
We're all going to be doing some type of programming. We'll be there. NAMIC New York
So you want to
is
share which one you're doing?
NAMIC New York is hosting a fantastic after party on October 11th. It'll be at a lounge nearby. It's a time to unwind, relax after the first day of the conference. We have DJ Red Alert on the 1s and 2s. We're just going to party, have a good time, open bar. So just come and have a good time. And then on the 12th, we are hosting a sound bath in the morning to get your day started after your night of partying. We'll just listen to some wonderful, and I think she might be on here with Sita Francois, is a wellness and meditation practitioner, and she's just going to be giving us a relaxing sound bath for a few minutes. And then at 10 a.m., I am moderating a panel on DE&I best practices and using your DE&I strategy as a retention tool. So we will be doing that at 10 o'clock on the 12th.
Alex?
Yes, on Tuesday, the 11th at 3:45, I will be moderating a panel on, it's called The New News, Inclusive Journalism. So I will be leading the discussion with 4 amazing industry leaders to discuss, you know, what's broken the trust with local news. How do we get it back? What inclusive journalism is and why it's important to the sustainability of news. So that'll be on the 5th floor on Tuesday at 3:45. So for those of you attending, I would love to see you there and meet you in person. Or if you just see me around, feel free to stop me and introduce yourself. I love meeting new people.
And I'll be at the L. Patrick Mellon mentorship session, where I'm going to share how mentorship has helped me, some tips on being a good mentor and a good mentee. So that is on October 12th at the 3:15 slot, I believe. All right. You got nothing?
You will be there.
She will be there. It should be
that part.
All right.
So this was such a great conversation. Thank you, everyone, for sticking in with us through our technical difficulties and our sound problems and all that good stuff. But it was a fantastic conversation. I'm always so happy to speak and drop gems and empower where I can and where we can. So thank you.
Thank you all. We appreciate you.